It's been a while since I uploaded my last video, and I thought I'd just share something that I've been using for quite a bit now. It's called a VPN. For those of you who are unaware of what a VPN is, it basically stands for a virtual private network. So think about your home network, for example, if you use one, or a network at your work. How do you access this network without actually being physically connected to it? Physically connected obviously means that being plugged in via Ethernet, or being connected to it using the wireless internet that your workplace or your home network might use. So one way to get around this is using this what you call a virtual private network service, a VPN service essentially. And a VPN offers many advantages. At my house personally, I use a VPN set up on something called a Raspberry Pi. You guys might have heard of what the Raspberry Pi is. It's a $35 computer. And what I did essentially with it is I plugged it into my network and I set up a PPTP VPN protocol on the device. And what this does is when I'm at school or out of the country or traveling, for example, and I want to access files on my shared network at home, the hard drives or the network attached storage NAS on my home network, what I can do is I can basically connect to my Raspberry Pi device, and it'll present me with all the computers and all the hard drives that are on my network, which I can access then from anywhere in the world. So in that sense, a VPN is an excellent way to bring over the resources you need that might be at your home computer with you anywhere in the world without actually physically carrying the hard drives with you. But there's also different uses that a VPN may provide. This is especially true if you're in a country where the government censors material on the internet. For example, I know Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. I'm not sure about Saudi Arabia, but I know the United Arab Emirates definitely does censor material on the internet. China is another country that censors material on the internet. And for individuals living in these countries, a VPN service, can offer something really advantageous. It can allow the citizens of the country to bypass the government censorship and access websites and things that they would not be able to access before. And also another thing that a VPN service, more commonly what people use it for these days, is to access sites that are restricted by regions. For example, I'm in Canada right now, and if I were to try to go to Hulu.com, which is an American-based site that only allows Americans, to watch a video, it'll give me an error message. Sorry, currently our library can only be watched from within the United States. So right now I can't get past this because I have a Canadian IP address. My IP address is provided by my internet service provider or my ISP, and this IP address geolocates me to Canada, which means that sites such as this and certain videos on YouTube, for example, I can't access them. And one way I can get past this is through using a VPN service. What a VPN service does is it allows me to remotely connect to a network. So let's say this network is in the United States, for example. What then happens is that my IP address, when I'm connected to this VPN service, converts into an American IP address. So then I can access websites such as Hulu without having any problems whatsoever. Because essentially the website gets tricked into thinking that I'm accessing it from a United States network instead of a Canadian one. So traditionally, if you wanted a VPN service, you might be aware of this. There are a couple of ones available, but they're paid. They usually charge you around $4 or $5 a month. And if you're on a tight budget, a very tight budget, like a student like me, this is not possible. I need to access a VPN in America to do various things. I'm not particularly, keen on accessing content that's American, but for other things, I want to access an American, IP address. And some of the ways I do that is through a free service called Super Free VPN. So what I would have to do, this is a PPTP type of VPN. It's the same type of VPN that my Raspberry Pi uses that's currently sitting at my house. And so what I have to do basically is enter this information into my VPN settings, and I'll show you that just in a bit how to do that. But I don't really like using super free VPN because I find it fairly slow. So another service that I use is afreevpn.com. And as you can see, they provide a VPN account for UK IP addresses, a USA VPN server, free account, and a Canadian one. The Canadian one is pretty much useless to me since I already have a Canadian IP address. So I don't really need to use that. What I'm interested in is a US one for reasons not mainly due to I don't really care about the content, but for other reasons, Google Voice and those kind of things. So what I do is these instructions are for OS 10, but rest assured that you can probably find them on the internet for Windows 8 or Windows 7 or whatever version of Windows you use. You can also probably find them for Linux. So I just click on the Apple logo and I go to System Preferences. Now, within System Preferences, I went to the Network setting, and it'll provide me with all the different types of connections that I have available at the moment. Currently, I've already one VPN set up, which is my work VPN. And next, what I want to do is I want to add another VPN. I want to add this VPN service. So to do that, I simply click on the plus button at the bottom, which creates a new service. Then it'll tell you what kind of interface do you want to choose. The interface that I'm interested in particularly in is VPN, since we're setting up a VPN protocol. And as it says in the configuration, the VPN type is PPTP. So I'll set this as PPTP as well. And I'll name it as US connection. And I'll create that VPN. Now it's added, as you can see, but it says it's not configured yet. So we just have to configure it a little bit more. So first and foremost, obviously you're going to have to tell your computer what the address of the VPN server is. So in our case, the address is us.afreevpn.com. So I'll enter that. And the account name is afreevpn.com. And next what we need to do is also enter the password, which is 2381. So I clicked on Authentication Settings, and make sure the Password tab is highlighted, and enter in 2381. We don't need to worry about RSA Secure ID or anything like that, since we're not using, a Cisco-provided VPN service or something like that. So I'll click OK. And now, we still haven't fully configured the VPN service. To do that, click on the Advanced button, and make sure that Send all traffic over VPN connection, that setting is enabled. So click on that and click OK. And as you can see on my taskbar up here, I have a VPN little icon there that I can click on and connect quickly to the US or whatever VPN I want to connect to. And to do that, I just highlight it and click this Show VPN Status in the menu bar setting. So I'll press Apply right now actually. And now everything should be set up. As you can see right now, we're not connected to the US connection. So Hulu and all that will still give me the error that it gave me before. Well, it just gave me the error, but let me try playing, something. I highly doubt it'll connect. And it'll give you an error in a second. See, it still says we're not in the United States, right? But now, let me try connecting to the US connection. And as you can see, it's connecting right now. It'll authenticate, and there we go, bam, I'm connected to the network. Now, sometimes you might need to restart your browser for the settings to take effect for some reason. But let me just try refreshing it, see if it works. See, it still says, it's not going to let me do that. So I'm not going to close this browser, but I'll open up Safari and close it and reopen it. stop that and go to hulu.com. So you might need to restart your browser once you connect to the VPN service. And as you can see, I didn't get any error messages at the moment, so hopefully it works. Fingers crossed. And it should be connecting right now. In a bit, I'll also go over some client options that you have available to stream the content. I think it's buffering right now, considering we haven't got... There we go. It's playing. Now, I'll just stop this for the sake of copyright troubles, but you get the idea. Essentially, I have an American IP address right now. So I'll go to speedtest.net. I can't type today. And you'll see my IP address will be an American one instead of a Canadian one, since I'm connected to the VPN service. Yep, that's an American IP address. And it thinks I'm near Chicago, which is in the US. So it works. Now, one downside to using this free VPN service is that, they do sort of limit your connection speeds that you get. You're not paying for the connection, so can't really complain there. But typically I get around 11 to 12 Mbps, and while connected to the VPN, my speed drops to around 2 to 3 megabits per second. That's not a big deal, but it is significantly slower than my normal connection speed. If you want to get that high-speed VPN service, you'd have to pay over like $5 or $6 a month. Just Google, VPN services, and you'll find one really quickly that will offer you significantly faster speed. The upload speeds are still good. My normal speed's around 2. I'm still getting 1.8, so that's not bad. So yeah, we're basically set up to a VPN service now. So at this point in time, I also want to take you through other options that are available. These options involve, installing extensions or clients in order to do the same thing as what a VPN does. It's just easier for some people, considering that there is no configuration required whatsoever in order to use these clients or extensions. So one really popular project that people use to bypass censorship is Tor. So Tor is slower, I have to admit. It's rather slow because essentially people volunteer their bandwidth to the Tor network, and then other individuals using the client can connect to these individuals and bypass censorship or whatever. So you just simply download the Tor client and press the connect button. That's all you have to do in order to connect to Tor. Sometimes you don't get an American IP address though. You get a UK one or one from different areas of the world. Besides Tor, another one that I used to use before I found out about VPN was Spotflux. So Spotflux is similar to Tor. Just download a client for your respective operating system and then press the connect button. I actually have it installed still, so I'll demo it. So just click on Spotflux, and it takes 1 or 2 seconds to load up. It runs, I believe, on Java. It's a Java applet, so it is a little bit sluggish on Macintosh. Not too sluggish though, it's not really that noticeable. So Spotflux loads up, all you have to click is enable button, and that's it. You're done with Spotflux. I'll just exit it for right now, because I don't need it. And besides Spotflux, another really easy way to bypass, the restriction barriers, more specifically, is Media Hint. Media Hint, I don't use it because I really don't trust, extensions and what they're capable of doing. I have no idea if they can track my, browsing history or something like that. So, although I haven't heard anything bad about it, and a lot of people use it, so I believe that it's a reliable company. I mean, there's 37,000 users. That can't be wrong, right? And it's got a 5-star rating with 26 user reviews. So I'm pretty sure it's a reliable app. I just don't use it since I'm more comfortable with the VPN service. because I can disable it, enable it, and disabling and enabling extensions, requires a lot more effort. So all you have to do in this is add to Firefox, and it takes care of everything. You don't really have to do anything else with Media Hint, and it's for Firefox as well as the Chrome browser. So yeah, that's essentially my brief, look into VPN services and what you can do. I wouldn't recommend using them for any illegal activities, considering that most of these free VPN services, aside from Tor, since Tor's entire purpose is anonymity. I completely butchered that word, but okay, whatever. Yeah, but for example, if you go to Super Free VPN, they tell you right off the bat that illegal activities are not allowed on this, and they do log your activity. So if you do get caught doing something illegal and the authorities demand them to hand over your information, Super Free VPN makes it explicit that they will hand over your information. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you're using a VPN service to do something that's not legal, I would strongly tell you not to use one for that reason. You shouldn't be doing anything illegal anyways, but I'm not going to preach about that, since we've all heard of that. But yeah, that's all I have to show you. So superfreevpn.com, Tor, Media Hint, Spotflux, freevpn.com, and in the next video I'll show you basically how to set up your own VPN server, so that, let's say you live in America but you're traveling to Canada. Like, for example, my cousins, they live in the States but they travel to Canada quite a bit, and they miss not having that huge repertoire of Netflix movies and being able to access Pandora, their Hulu Plus account, and things like that. So what they can do is simply use something like a Raspberry Pi and set up a VPN service on it. They can also use the other options that I covered before, but they can use a Raspberry Pi, for example, have a VPN set up, and from Canada, when they're at my house, they can basically connect to their home VPN and obtain that US IP address and access all the material that they want to access while being in Canada. So I mean, that's another really advantageous and used to a VPN service. If you're traveling and you're a US citizen, you can access all this material that you should have access to, despite not being in America. That was all I had to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it wasn't too long or boring. And if you learned a little bit about VPN and how to set them up, please feel free to like the video and leave a comment. I would love to know how I'm doing with these videos and if they're helpful. Thanks again for taking the time to hear me out, and I hope you have a great 2013.